Have a good day to each and everyone. I am Ryla Jaitel Valderrama, a student of AMA University, taking up Bachelor of Secondary Education, and this video is required as our course project in Philippine Popular Culture under Miss Eliza S. Zapanta.
This video presentation is all about the American regime. Americans in the Philippines. American settlement in the Philippines began during the Spanish colonial period. The period of American colonialization of the Philippines lasted 48 years, from cession of the Philippines to the U.S. by Spain in 1898 to U.S. recognition of Philippine independence in 1946. After independence in 1946, many Americans chose to remain in the Philippines while maintaining relations with relatives in the U.S. Most of them were professionals, but missionaries continued to settle the country. In 2015, the U.S. State Department estimated that there were more than 220,000 U.S. citizens living in the Philippines, with a significant mixed population of Americans and descendants from the colonial area as well. The United States invaded the Philippines, which was then governed by Spain as the Spanish East Indies during the Spanish-American War. During that war, Philippine revolutionaries declared independence, wanting to maintain a stronghold over the island nation as a stepping stone to Japan and continental Asia. The United States maintained authority of the archipelago, and the Philippine-American War ensued. America then held the Philippines until granting full independence on July 1946. American colonization. American colonial rule in the Philippines saw an increase in immigration to the Philippines. Retiring soldiers and other military men were among the first Americans to become long-term Philippine residents and settlers. These included African American soldiers and former volunteer soldiers, primarily from the western states. The Education Act of 1901 authorized the colonial government to recruit American teachers to help establish the new educational system, and 80 former soldiers became teachers. They were soon joined by 48 teachers recruited in America who arrived in June 1901 on the ship Sheridan, named after Philip Sheridan, and by 523 others who arrived on August 1, 1901 on the Thomas. Collectively, these teachers became known as the Thomasites. Besides English, the Thomasites taught agriculture, reading, grammar, geography, mathematics, general courses, trade courses, housekeeping, and household arts, including sewing, crocheting, and cooking, manual trading, mechanical drawing, freehand drawing, and athletics included baseball, track and field, tennis, indoor baseball, and basketball. Many of these people settled in the Philippines and had Filipino spouses. By 1913, there were more than 1,400 mestizos with American parentage, the product of the nearly 8,000 Americans living in the Philippines. 15% of the children of Americans who settled in the Philippines were orphans. Prior to World War II, Americans were not prevalent in the Philippines, most living in enclaves, particularly around Fort Santiago. One term for those who settled in the Philippines was Manila Americans. By 1939, 8,709 Americans were in the Philippines,